The Watchtower is telling people to trust in the governing body. Jeremiah 9:4, don't trust anyone, not even your close kin. And Jeremiah 17 verse 5 says, cursed is the one who trusts in earthly man. But that's the very thing that the Watchtower wants. They want you to trust in the governing body. Jesus said, be cautious as serpents, innocent as doves. The serpent was the most cautious in the Garden of Eden. Even in the garden, it was cautious. So how much more in this time period will we be cautious? The Bible says you work out your salvation with fear and trembling. So there's very careful activity that we engage in regards to our salvation. As the book of Acts, chapter 17, brings out the activity of the Bereans. They heard what Paul said. They went to go see if it's in the scriptures. Yes, we are swift to listen. We hear, but we do what the Bereans do. We go and check and see if it's in the scriptures. We're building a house that God would approve of. So we got to make sure the material is fire resistant, as 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 10 through 15. So we got to look and say, well, is that good product to put on my spiritual building? Because each of you are a building. You are a building. Either you're going to stand or you're going to fall. You're going to be fire resistant or you're not. It depends on the product that you're putting on your spiritual building, that you are accepting as truth. Truth cannot be defeated. So therefore, it should be able to handle the questions, the scrutiny, everything. That would show that it is fire resistant because it has overcome the fiery questions. Therefore, you put that on your spiritual building. What did Jesus say about a slave appointed over the household? That the slave could start off doing right, but then the delay, he begins to do things wrong. You always got to keep your eye on him because you don't know if that slave going to turn bad, going to start teaching things not in the Bible. So you got to always be checking. We notice in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, they were reading the Bible, reading the scriptures and putting meaning into it. The scriptures were the key as they restored pure worship back in Jerusalem. And that's what the focus was. Each church, congregation, people who claim to be Christian, that should be the main book they should be talking about. They should be constantly going to the scriptures, reading from the scriptures. But if it's this publication that's being featured, that's a problem. Because more than likely, the publication is being exalted over what the Bible says. Nevertheless, a Christian is going to be keeping their mind focused on, are these things so? Is it in the scriptures? When people actually do leave the Watchtower and find out, oh, okay, this is where we went wrong. We were trusting these guys instead of verifying. Once you decide to prove all things as the Bible says, everything is going to change.